Hi everyone, it's Genene, and this yoga video is for all the teachers out there. I have 5 yoga poses that you can do while you are at work. You don't need to change your clothes or anything like that. I grew up around teachers. A lot of my family members were or are teachers. So I've seen how teaching can be very rewarding, but also very stressful. Therefore, our number 4 yoga pose is said to reduce cortisol levels by about 20%. However, number 5 may be the one you find the most beneficial. Let's find out. Number 1 is pranayama, specifically nadi shodhana. You're going to use your thumb and your ring finger, and you can do whatever you would like with your index finger and this third finger here. You could place them at your third eye. You can fold them under. You're going to start by placing your thumb at the cartilage right here at your nose to close off the nostril on your right. And then you can gently close your eyes at this point. And because you can't really see what I'm doing, well, you can see the fingers. So I'll show the angle. Inhaling through the left side, then the ring finger is going to close off the nostril on the left. And you're going to exhale through the right nostril, staying here to inhale. And then you switch. Thumb closes off right nostril. You exhale and inhale through the left. Ring finger closes off the left nostril, and you exhale and inhale through the right. And then you can do that for a minute or two. Again, with your eyes closed, if you're comfortable. And you're balancing left and right. Feel how that works for you. So number 1 was all about calming, balancing. Number 2 is also a release, a jaw release. And this is something that you will want to do away from people, probably, because you're going to take your right or left hand, doesn't matter. One hand on top of the other at your chin, right like so. So you're going to be moving your own jaw. Right hand, then left hand. And then you look so gorgeous doing this. You're going to gently open the mouth with your hands. You should still be able to make a sound. You're not closing off the throat here. And you should still be able to breathe. You don't want to stop breathing here. But if you're tight, especially if you have TMJ, you're going to feel this all throughout, all those muscles that get so tight. And you'll be like, oh, my mouth is supposed to open that far? Really? Are you sure? So be strong and gentle with that one. That's a weird one because if you just go to your edge, you're never getting anywhere. So you're going a little past, but be very cognizant of how you're feeling because you don't want to strain. It's a balance. It's like every single yoga pose, basically. You need to challenge yourself. It's not about no pain, but it's the kind of pain. You're not hurting yourself kind of pain. The muscles are going to work. They're going to work to stretch in this particular case. And then one note about this is the fact that you're going to want to drop your head. So make sure that your neck keeps its curvature and you're keeping the neck in neutral spine and not dropping the head when you're doing this one. And that one you're going to do for several breaths, like start maybe 3 breaths and work up to 30 seconds, but that's going to take some time probably. You don't want to get yourself to a point where you can't do this every day. Number 3, depending on what you're wearing, either warrior 1 pose or a crescent pose, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. For crescent, you would be standing straight ahead, feet parallel, and then you step your right leg back, coming onto the ball of the right foot, bending the left knee. Now, this depends on what you're wearing, right? Bend your left knee around 90 degrees. If your clothes are not that flexible, this isn't going to work terribly well. That's okay. So you could also do this in a chair, which I will show you as well. But for now, inhale your arms overhead. Next would be, if you could do it, warrior one. That's your other option. Okay, you're not doing both unless you want to. You spin that back heel down. It is you're spinning it so that the hips can still point forward. The warrior two, the hips are pointing out. This is pointing forward like so. And then if you are more flexible, you're going to take a straight line from the front heel to the center of the back arch. Or if you're less flexible, you walk the right foot over to the right, like so. And then bring your arms overhead. Wherever you're at, you're holding this for between 30 and 60 seconds, and then you're going to the other side and doing the same thing. However, it's not just about, okay, I'm going to do the pose. What are you doing? You're feeling empowered. You're drawing into the center of your pelvis here, and you're extending up through your arms and showing your presence. As a teacher, you have to command the room, the attention of the room. And that's what this pose is representative of, the warrior coming into the room, announcing his presence. Depending on what you're wearing, this will probably work better sitting in a chair, so grab your chair. And then you can grab hold of the seat of the chair and shift your hips over to the left to start. So what you're doing is creating space so that this left leg can move. And then slide your left leg back to the side of the chair, just like so. You can have the toes tucked under. That protects the top of your shoes, if you're worried about that. And then make sure you're not too far off of the chair so you don't fall down. And you might notice that your clothes are restricting you, so you might not be able to bring your leg back as far as you think you can. Maybe it's 90 degrees. This is a stretch for the hip flexors still. If we were doing therapeutics, we would put a bolster or something underneath this front shin. And then once you find, okay, I have my sense of balance, then inhale your arms overhead. And from here, feel the rooting down through the sitting bones and reaching up through the crown of the head and the arms, arm bones moving back. If this doesn't work for your clothing, if you're wearing a top that doesn't allow you to go further than arms out to the sides, you could do arms out to the sides or bending at the elbows. And if you bend at the elbows, it's easier, I think, to imagine that you're pressing down on something that's totally solid with your elbows, and that's going to help activate the muscles that bring your shoulder blades on your back more. And hold this between 30 and 60 seconds. So to come out, you just bring the back leg forward to meet the right. So before we shift over to the other side, before we go to the other side, do you remember the studies that Harvard professor Robert Rosenthal did back starting in 1964 at an elementary school in California? The short version, teachers were told that certain students in their classroom were going to be destined to succeed because of how they had scored on a test. Researchers then followed these students for the next 2 years, and sure enough, these students did in fact excel and succeed. Here's the wrinkle. Those students had been chosen at random. It wasn't based on their test scores or anything else. So how do we stop bringing these beliefs into the classroom? That's why I wanted to tell you before we go the other side. Right now, before we even go there, what are you thinking about when you think about going to side 2? Is this your tighter side, your weaker side? Is this going to be easier, more challenging? How do you expect it to feel? How could you change that belief and that expectation? Professor Rosenthal found that the key was for teachers to make a new choice to behave differently. These choices created space for the beliefs to change. Though choices are more powerful, changing a belief is also much more difficult than changing your choices. Instead, start making new choices. So for side 2, make a new choice to start chipping away at those beliefs that may be holding you back. And then those beliefs will be easier to change. So now shift over to the right for side 2. So approaching side 2 with the same open mind that you want to have with all of your kids every moment of every day. Same thing, you scooched over to the right so that the right hip is hanging off. You have space, you take that right leg back. Maybe you tuck the toes under, maybe not. And depending on how much freedom you have, arms are out to the sides, elbows bent, or reach your arms up and start focusing on bringing those arms back behind you without dropping the chin down. And again, holding 30 to 60 seconds. And then lowering the arms. You can always grab a hold of the chair for more balance before taking that leg back and coming back to center. Number 4, Superwoman pose or super person pose. I promised you number 4 to reduce the levels of cortisol in your body. The cortisol is often called that stress hormone. It has its value, it has its place, but like everything else, when it is in balance, that's that hormone that helps you get up in the morning. And then from that point forward, it's supposed to start to go down, 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 so that by the time you are going to bed, your cortisol levels have dropped and you're sleepy and you go sleepy, sleepy to sleep. So now we're going to, if you've got too much cortisol running through your body, you take a nice wide stance, just a little wider than your hips, not too wide. Again, this is another one where you're announcing your presence. And then inhale and stretch your arms overhead, broad reach, spread your fingers from your pelvis. You're extending down the legs and up the arms, and you hold this for a minute. And when you're done, you lower your arms and come back to standing in your mountain pose, Tadasana. Number 5, center yourself. This is the one that comes courtesy of my mom because this is what she did for her students in the public schools. She taught music, and when the kids came in, wherever they were coming from, they were bouncing off the walls, and there was no way she was going to be able to teach class like that. So here's what she did. She'd put on a piece of music, and then she'd instruct her students to do the following. Stack one hand on top of the other. Place your forehead on your hands. Gently close your eyes and breathe in and out through your nose. Let your breath grow deeper and smoother and slower, and let it take you inward into that still place deep inside. And you can do that for as little as 60 seconds, 1 minute, and see what a difference it makes for you. You're going to do these 5 poses 3 times throughout your day, dividing them up however you see fit. And then in the comments below, let me know which pose you found most beneficial, and then also, what's your most memorable story being a teacher. I can't wait to hear your stories. And join us next time where we have 5 yoga poses for florists. Until next time, namaste.